And just to give you a small summary of how day one went, here are a few speeches that happened during that first day. One of the things that I really wanted to do is that if a conversation was really good and really moving, I actually wanted to record it so that I can be able to share it with you. The people who had come for this particular conference were Bitcoiners from across the globe, some of them from Africa, and a common theme that I noticed during this particular conference is Bitcoiners rarely invest in marketing. Bitcoiners just do. With no fear of sounding controversial, I think one of the things that cryptocurrencies, those that are not Bitcoin, altcoins, spend a lot of time marketing and telling people what their use case is, but most Bitcoin projects just build. You hear what they are doing, they never tell people what they are doing. And that for me, the opportunity that I saw to be able to start the Fearless Mullah podcast, which you heard me talk about in a previous video. But what this podcast aims to do is to be the free marketing voice for Bitcoin projects within Africa. Anyone who's doing something awesome with Bitcoin here on the continent, I can be able to feature their stories, tell more of their stories, and bring a bigger light onto the good things that people are doing with Bitcoin.
When you mentioned the skepticism that comes when people hear about Africa and Bitcoin, on the assumption that Africans don't have money, there will be the point of them investing in Bitcoin. There's a lot of myths around money in Africa, but the reality is that this is a continent that generates billions of dollars, trillions of dollars in trade alone. And unfortunately, interstate trade has been completely harmed by the multiple currencies we have on this continent. We have a continent of 54 nations and more than 40 currencies, which is insane. You are a trader in Togo, before you buy products in Ghana, you have to convert it in cities, and then you convert the price to Ghana, to CFA before pricing it, and with the depreciation that comes continuously, it's a headache for our businesses. Now the question that I have for you is, how can companies like Paxful can help solidify interstate trade on the continent by breaking those walls, colonial monetary walls and colonial political walls that are preventing people from easily doing business from one country to another?
Great point, sister. So I want to bring something up that you said. The complexity of doing business in Africa is immense. You literally need an economics PhD just to be able to do business here. That's how much complexity there is in moving money around this continent. It is literally easier to fill up a suitcase full of cash, put it on a plane and a bus, and do business. There are 2,000 payment networks in Africa, and only 2% of them talk to each other. Think about that kind of segregation. It's segregation of money. That's why I call this thing, this matrix that we're living under, economic apartheid. It is the biggest problem in the world, and yet Africans find a way to make it happen. So let's consider for a moment a different thing. Let's say a vision of the world where these 54 states of Africa were united by one currency. Wow. Can you imagine what the result would be? To put it into relation, imagine if there were 51 currencies in America and you couldn't send money from New York to New Jersey without going through a month's worth of headache. How developed would the United States be? Would it be the mightiest country in the world? No, nowhere near. And that should give us some understanding of the potential of Africa if there was a unified money system. Now, we can't expect the French to give up their 14 colonies over here overnight. They're certainly not going to do it, right? Colonizers aren't backing off, right, on their shadow colonization schema. It's a little too profitable for them. We can't expect the rest of the African states to get this all together in time. But let me make it clear. In Western Africa, there was the eco here, right? This was a currency for Western Africa. There have been many Pan-African currencies attempted. And what was the result? They disappeared. The last guy that tried to do this ended up getting his convoy blown up by a cruise missile. And that wasn't enough. They had to sodomize him on camera. Hillary Clinton laughed about it. That is the kind of pressure people in Africa are under. Anyone that raises up their head to combat this menace, to fight this thing, like Bernard said, gets their head chopped off, or they are thrown under the jail. How do you win against such an opponent that can target any one of us? Simple. An army of mosquitoes, peer to peer. We have had the solution in front of us all the time. So how can we help all these peers, all these young people that are figuring out ways to make the money flow? This is the key, guys. Stacking sats is nice. Everyone should stack sats. But the only thing that's better than stacking sats is making those sats flow. This free trade creates wealth. This is the beauty of being human. It is not a zero-sum game. When humans trade freely between each other, wealth is generated. That means we get something far greater than the sum of its parts. This is what God said to the angels when He created humans, and they questioned if we were going to mess up like the creations that came before us, right? He said, I know something that you don't. And I feel we all know what that is. To be human is that we have this great power of creativity and generativity, and money is the solution. If you make the money flow, wealth will be created. This is our birthright. This is what we're good at, and this is why we are destined to win. And we have all the tools in front of us right now. So what has my little company been doing? All right, there's been about $5 to $6 billion in trade since inception here in Africa. And the beautiful thing is, there's no front money, there's no back running, there's no margin trading, there's no leverage, there's none of this hanky-panky or dodging is happening. This is real trade between people, $5 billion. It's a great start, but we can do a lot more. We've invested in education heavily, it's very important. Why? Because we don't want people's first exposure to Bitcoin being, oh man, did you hear about this latest crypto? Let's get in. These are all Ponzi's. And that's when the interest in Bitcoin rises up. People buy in, the founder disappears, and they all get scammed, and every week it repeats. I am sick and tired of being left here to pick up the pieces. We need to go on the offensive, and that is what education is about. We are thinking 20 years ahead. 20 years is too long to wait. We've got 7 years to make this happen.
How to get started? Yeah, so come up to me afterwards. We install a self-custody wallet and I send you some satoshis and then you know how it works.
Free set. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say the same thing. I think it's hard to get started. Don't bother paying attention to the 20,000 other copycats who use a different word to refer to them. Not a mistake. Just focus on understanding Bitcoin. I particularly learned to use Lightning. I think by far, I mean, this is, you know, I wasn't always so focused on Bitcoin only, but since the development of Lightning, I would say that is by far the most exciting and significant development in the entire crypto space. What's happening with Lightning, you know, eclipses anything else that's happening out there. Lightning is going to, I mean, the Bitcoin blockchain gave us uncentrable, immutable money, and Lightning is going to enable billions of people to adopt that. So yeah, I'll learn to use Bitcoin and then learn to use Lightning.
Mark Twain has said beautifully, if you don't follow news, you are uninformed. But if you follow news, you are misinformed. There is a lot of noise. Zoom out, get the free sats from Anita, get the free sats from Herman, free satoshis from me too. Feel the process, get this feeling, and yeah, Team Bitcoin.